Hey everybody, welcome back into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We are talking with Archie Chaisson, of course, the parish president of Lafourche Parish. Archie, thanks for being here. Give us another update. We're 3 months. The anniversary just passed on the 29th, 3 months into the storm. It seems like there's two different highways. One of them is blowing and going. It's like, man, look how much we've done. And the other one seems like it's stalled. And I guess it's almost two parallel worlds that don't intersect a lot. And they should be intersecting a lot more. Give us an update. What's going on in the parish?
Yeah, Harry, we talk about that a lot because, I'll sit up here and I'll say, we're down to the nitpicky stuff, right, from a government perspective. But you drive down the Pontchartrain, you drive down the Golden Meadow, you drive down the Leeville, and there's still so much stuff on the ground. There's still so many blue roofs. There's still so much happening. People are still trying to gut their homes or demolish their homes that you take a step back and you go, well, maybe we're not at the nitpicky stuff yet, right? From a big perspective, all the critical infrastructure stuff had come back on very quickly. Energy did a really good job, even though we had some issues with them about getting power back on. We had something like 7,000 poles down in Lafourche. So you think about getting that power infrastructure back up within about 4 weeks, right? And the vast majority of us saw power. That Leeville just got power back, I think, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago. Fouchon was back up and running, the very late part of October, which was, good for those guys. But, we continue to struggle with a lot of things. And how we talked about this right before the show started, about housing, right? And how slow that process has been. And even though I still give a lot of credit to the state for stepping up and doing their own trailer program, it's still been very slow. And when you look at the numbers from a state perspective, we have 216 actual camper units that were on the ground, but only 42 of those, 312 on the ground, 184 of them are licensed in. We're still a ton of them at the Civic Center parking lot that are still being moved out. Mike Toops from Terrebonne and I were talking a little earlier today that they're moving those staging area, that it's not going to be at the Civic Center anymore.
Hide them things.
They're going to have to haul them in from like Prairieville or Denham Springs,
right.
Which makes absolutely no sense when we're trying to get to speed, when we're trying to get to accuracy. Let's put them a little bit further away and see what happens. But FEMA's been just as slow. We have 216 units on the ground with 42 of those units licensed in. And if you're the person who's still living in a home that's gutted or a home that hadn't been gutted yet because your adjuster hadn't gotten there, or we get messages every day through social media or calls at the office saying, hey, where's this at? We're still, we're 90 plus days out now, and I'm still technically homeless. What's the answer? So we work with those people. We work with the people from Aptum, who runs the state program, a consulting firm out of Baton Rouge. We have a dedicated FEMA person embedded with us that all he does is housing. So we wear him out all day long as people call. The information sharing is still a huge problem because I don't see a list. They won't tell me who's got something coming. When Mr. Joe calls from West 153rd and wants to know where his camper trailer is, I literally have to walk across the building and go find Wade and say, hey, can you look this guy up? Can you tell me what it is? And he turns his computer and does his little password and does his magic. He says, all right, this is where he is, right? And you got to feed that frontline information back. So it gets tough, but people can still call our emergency operations center in Matthews, and we will work through that process with them and try to help them out. Our debris contractors came back from Thanksgiving. We still have a good probably month and a half left with those guys, hardcore. We're trying to work through the northern to the central part of the parish over the next few weeks, do one more good clean pass, and then turn that back over to our typical debris our typical garbage contractor with River Birch, and let those grapple trucks that we typically have run the system. South Lafourche is going to be Christmas maybe. I have a feeling they might be back after the first of the year. And then we get into the private property debris removal stuff, the home demolitions of people who walked away or couldn't afford to do it. We get into those extended right-of-way issues where the grapple couldn't reach, or you're down a private street. How do we get to those areas? So we're gonna be at this well into next year, to the tune of probably, by the time we're all said and done, $22 million worth of stuff that we've picked up. That now I got to go ask Uncle Sam to help pay for, because let's face it, I don't have $22 million in the bank to devote to trash pickup.
Well, sure, and it happens on a steady basis, right? Because you're right. People are trying to live in their houses and go, hey, okay, now I got my insurance check. Now I need to take out all my insulation and all my walls, put them out by the side of the road.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it may come as a in steps like that. No, look, all you got to do is drive to Lake Charles, and you can see the process after a year.
Yep.
That place is not back as
No.
it was. And I don't mean to be negative, but this is a long-term deal, man.
Yeah, and it will be. And you think about, and our debris contractor will tell you this, the first pass is always the initial blush, right? We came home, all the tree limbs that were in the yard, we picked up the shingles, we picked up the stuff that had blown away, and then we waited 30, 40 days for insurance adjusters to get there, for those checks to be cut. And then we go, okay, now we got to get a contractor in here. In some cases, that contractor, and I'll use this as a shameless
themselves.
plug, right? That contractor is responsible for hauling it out.
Right.
If you're doing it yourself, then yeah, go stick it by the road, and we'll haul it off. And still a long way to go with that sort of stuff. As people are still fighting insurance companies, right? They're still trying to get adjusters out there 90 days out, which is still tough.
Right. And so the houses, as we talked about, you got power back to most of the areas. It seems like the lower you are in the government chain, it works a little faster, right? And I think we knew that going in. So FEMA's the last group, but it seems like we're talking almost 500 trailers between the state and FEMA.
Yeah.
It's just to get them to that point.
Yeah, it's to get them to that point. And look, I say this all the time. FEMA did a really good job at getting here initially and signing people up for those individual assistance dollars. I think we're well over $90 million paid out to parish residents. We're on the FEMA side, we're over $75 million on the SBA side, paid to small businesses and stuff like that. So we did a really good job at the initial setup and getting people help. It's been this long-term part that we've had to struggle with.
And you said you thought 3,000 might be requested?
Yeah, so that was our planning number, and that was based on some Red Cross survey data that we did initially after the storm, and based on when we opened up the phone line and said, hey, if you need some long-term sheltering, call us. Give us your name, address, your phone number, and we'll start to work through that process. And we got to that about 3,000 mark. So we're going to do
about 500 right now. So
still got a ways
to go.
Still got a ways to go. And look, I think we're going to do every bit of 2,500. I think you have some people who found other places to live by now, but we still have a long way to go.
All right. Well, yeah, it won't be the last time we talk about this for sure. Let's talk about Christmas parades where we all get together. So, I tell you what, one event that's coming up is the Edie White Cardinals have made it December 10th. That'll be, I hate to take away from Lafourche Parish, but that'll be over in Lafayette. So I know everybody's excited about that. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, to see that football team and what they did this season and make it all the way to the state championship, it's huge. And it's good for, look, I know Vanderbilt did it out of Terrebonne to have schools from the Bayou region get to that level and be able to play and put our parishes, right? Now throw Terrebonne in there too, on that sort of level is pretty darn exciting.
Oh, I know they had a good crowd at Pelche Stadium, Harvey Pelche Stadium on Friday. So, those are good economic little events, right. To have. So let's talk about these holidays. So you got the 5th, you got the 11th, and the 18th. So a Sunday, Saturday. And Santa's going to be busy going up and down the bayou. Huh?
Yeah, no doubt. Luckily this year, because, we're somewhat post-storm, right? COVID's out of the way, hopefully, for the most part. Our Christmas parade season has kind of come back around. So Thibodaux is going to kick it off Sunday at 3 o'clock, roll from Nichols through Thibodaux on the downtown by City Hall. On the 11th, South Lafourche, Fire District 3 in the town of Golometa is putting together kind of a smaller version of what they typically do for their Christmas parade. Give those kids something down there to look forward to as the holidays near. And then on the 18th, town of Lockport PD, Volunteer Fire Department, and the Carnival Club in Lockport are resurrecting the Lockport Christmas Parade this year. Grand Marshal for this year's parade is posthumously, but Brian Abrayer, who was a longtime fixture in Lockport's Carnival crew, the crew of Apollo. So the Carnival crew as a whole is going to ride in his honor as kind of the Grand Marshal, but going to wind through Lockport and then disband, and then everybody will hopefully move over to the new Lockport Community Center in the gym. We're going to do pictures with Santa, movie night for the kids up in the gym. So the community groups have gotten together, the fire department and the community crusaders and those guys, the typical, the guys who carry Lockport and help out a lot are doing that with the fire department and PD. So it's going to be a cool little event for the kids. First time we get to use the community center for something like that, and bring everybody in and do a huge movie night in the room. But it's something to get away from everything that we've had to deal with the last couple of months. And we had a long discussion in the office yesterday. It seems like every time we start to get back on our feet, right? Something else happens. We had COVID take us down after the first 75 days of the term, and then we started to wind back up, and we had hurricane season of last year, and then Delta variant came along and ticked us back down again, and then we had Ida. But I think we get through the holiday season. I think we kick it off in January, and we look toward a whole bunch of cool stuff happening across the parish, infrastructure-wise. Looking at elevated highway of the last section of Highway 1 kicking off. We're looking at the airport connector road for the parish and the port between the back road, Highway 32, 35, and their airport. Really getting into construction. They've done some early work, and they're continuing to work on it now. But at one point, we'll have about $600 million worth of work happening just in South Lafourche. So when we think about tax bases and things like that, we're gonna have a lot of people eating in local restaurants, staying in hotels, buying from our local vendors. So that's gonna do a huge post-IDA bump to help people get out of that slump, hopefully, when we get in there. But we presented our budget a couple weeks ago. The council approved it last week at our council meeting. It was a very slim budget just because of the storm, not having a whole lot of time to put into it. But our assessor, Wendy Thibodeau, is reassessing the parish. So our taxes will be affected in how we do business. So you're going to see not a whole lot happening from government the first 6 months of the year. But when those tax dollars finally start to roll in from her reassessment, we have plans to turf some fields down in La Rose and Golden Meadow to help those kids out for recreation, and hopefully be able to bring some people in, help use those fields more than now that they'd be turfed besides grass. You're going to see a new animal shelter coming. You're going to see some work being done at our downtown courthouse to help the efficiency of the court, our clerk of court and our DA. You can see a whole bunch of building renovations from storm damage, right? But that's going to be a huge, let us do a few more things. So a lot of cool stuff coming to Lafourche next few months.
Yeah, we saw New Orleans kind of get a bump from post-Katrina, right? I mean, it is economic activity. It might not be what you hopefully you didn't have to do it, but it is economic activity. It'd be good for sales tax and all that kind of stuff, people coming in. When you're talking about doing a lot of those things, how are government workers and workers in general? Is it hard to find workers to go back to work right now to do these projects?
Yeah. So we had a huge dedicated in our staff is far above the best. We haven't had a huge issue recruiting people for vacancies that have come because people retired or left or things like that. Our contractors are struggle, right? And it really hadn't caused a huge delay. The bigger delay we're seeing is in a supply chain. We're trying to build pump stations, trying to get things back, not only post-storm, but projects we were working on pre-hurricane. Right. If we ordered a pump and an engine package for a pump station today on a new pump station, we're talking 36 weeks before we get it. Right. So it's been a huge issue as we've tried to do some of these bigger projects to actually keep them on schedule, keep them on time. Not only from a labor perspective and the crews, but just getting the materials here to actually build the stuff.
Right, and then the 4-lane will be working, all the way into Fouchon. It should be a big project that everybody's been looking for a long time.
Yeah, that by itself, I think the estimate on that project was about $520 million. The low bidder came in at like $463 million. So still a huge project, but going to go a long way to helping us get that port back up and running faster. After Ida. Sure. Chet and his crew got the first boat loaded out in 9 days post-storm. We lost a couple days because we had to wait for the water to go down to get there, right? With this new elevated highway, we can cruise right down there, hours after the wind dies down to get us back up and running. So it'll be a huge step forward.
Yeah, and Grand Isle, obviously it got hit, but I mean that's another place where we're gonna have to rebuild a lot of stuff down there. So yeah, it'll be great. It'll be everybody's been kind of waiting on this for a long time. We've been seeing it coming, like hey, it's here, and it's like here. Oh. Let's wait a little bit.
No doubt.
All right, well, good. So yeah, we'll see you at some of the Christmas events, and be like spring break. Everybody ready to get out.
Be ready to get out.
All right, thanks, Archie. That's do it for Buy Time. We'll be right back after this.